Alright, what's good y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So well over a month ago now, we recently received a Nintendo Direct. And at the very beginning of said Nintendo Direct, we actually got gameplay footage of Part 1 and Part 2 of the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC that we're supposed to be getting later this year. Now personally, I found there to be a couple of weird things regarding this trailer. For one thing, it was in a Nintendo Direct. They never show Pokemon stuff in Nintendo Directs. I don't know exactly when it started, but at some point, every game company on Earth decided to start hosting their own Nintendo Directs. PlayStation Showcase, Xbox Showcase, Sonic Central, and of course, Pokemon Presents. I have no doubt in my mind that they already have stuff planned for Pokemon Presents already. And I say that because every single time I go out of my way to make a video regarding something that's supposed to be releasing soon, it usually releases relatively soon. But disregarding all of that, they decided to go ahead and still put Pokemon in a Nintendo Direct. Why? It's because Pokemon Company and Game Freak work solely with Nintendo. How do you not know this by now, Soul? You've been playing Pokemon for your entire life. No, don't get me wrong. That makes sense. What I'm saying is, why did they show it off in that Nintendo Direct when they had absolutely nothing to show? That trailer was the most bare bones thing I've ever seen from a Pokemon trailer. Through both explanation and visuals, they gave us absolutely no new information to work with. We kind of got a glimpse of a few Pokemon battles utilizing a few of the returning Pokemon. We got an above head shot of some of the new areas that we're going to be exploring and stuff like that, which is cool and all, but again, it's nothing new. And on top of all of that, we didn't even get a release date, not even a release window. These guys have absolutely no idea when this DLC is supposed to come out, yet they had the need to show us a trailer? Why? So, considering all of that, I know this is going to be kind of a shocker to hear, especially from me, but yeah, the DLC should absolutely be delayed. I don't care when it was planned to be released, put it back another year. I think a lot of people can agree with me when I say this, but I don't think anybody's in that big of a rush to get back to these games. For the past week and a half, I've been working on a solo run, and going back to that game is so absolutely frustrating. That game always looks and feels so broken, especially after coming back from games like Tears of the Kingdom. So I'm sure that there's some of you wondering, what in the world does any of that have to do with the DLC's release? And you see, if you really think about it, the DLC could be the chance for this game to be what it deserves to be. Maybe not exactly what it deserves to be, but they can get it kind of close. Think about it for a minute here. We live in a digital dominant era. Because of this, publishers don't allow game developers as much time to develop games because they figure, hey, you could just update it later. Which is a dumb and awful practice that I absolutely do not agree with, by the way. But in technicality, it is true. Which is why for most games in the past decade at this point, we've been getting the full versions of the games through DLC. You can say what you want, but you are completely out of touch if you disagree with the fact that DLC is no longer extra content, but actually the finished content that should have been with the main game in pretty much any game in the last decade. Regardless of how we may feel about this practice, at the very least, I implore Game Freak and Pokemon Company to take advantage of the situation that they have with the DLC currently. We don't have a release date and we barely have a window for said release date, so why don't we just go ahead and push it back as much as possible? That way, you guys could take as much time as possible to update and maybe fix some things with the base game as well. For example, I personally see no harm in taking the extra time to make some touch-ups so that maybe the game runs a little better, specifically over any body of water in the game. I'm on my third or fourth playthrough of this game, and I'm already dreading the fact that I'm eventually going to have to travel across a body of water because it's going to take so long to get through any parts involving water. Fix it. Fix the frame rate issues, fix the overall situation there, and we should be fine. Just take the time to do those touch-ups. please. I mean, frankly, I would be perfectly fine if you decided to fix all of the frame rate issues within that game. At the very least though, I think that the bodies of water would be a great start, because that is easily some of the worst looking parts of the game, and it is way too frustrating not to acknowledge. On the same topic of fixing the visuals, I think that the texture warping situation would be splendid if it, weren't there. I have no doubt in my mind that I'm absolutely in the minority on this one, but the texture warping for me was absolutely disgusting and distracting. I know that pop-in is bad and stuff like that, but I would definitely take the pop-in well over the texture warping any day of the week. Please get rid of that nasty looking molding situation you got going on. Please, I beg of you. After that, maybe you could touch up on the clipping issues that we have. Specifically, trainers clipping through floors and stuff like that, or at the very least, very least, the camera clipping. I don't know, I think it's just kind of strange that in any battle, at any point in time, I could just move the camera a little too low and I could see through the entire world. We should probably not have that, right? There should be a limit to how far down the camera can go. We don't need it to be that dynamic, just fix that. Maybe we could fix the situation where Pokeballs just kind of show up in raids or in cutscenes where they're not supposed to be. Now, personally, if we're being completely honest, I haven't experienced the glitch in which a random Pokemon of yours will just be standing in the middle of the screen for like no reason during a raid. That one is completely rare. I've seen Pokeballs there, not full Pokemon, but that is heavily distracting and extremely weird, kinda creepy. I've had that happen a couple of times with friends during raids, and they would be confused as to why they could see it but I couldn't, but it was just a weird glitch that shouldn't be there. So maybe we can permanently rid everybody of that situation, unless it's already been gone and I just didn't know, in which case great, but if it's not, let's get rid of that now. And then in a kind of similar vein, in pretty much almost every cutscene when you're running into a cave with Arven after a Titan battle, you can notice that there might either be like a Pokeball like in the middle of the lane that you and Arven are running, or your character will be staring down at something that isn't there. Why does that happen? Just get rid of it. I don't know, that was just another thing that was just strangely distracting for me, and I would just love it if it weren't there anymore. So, if that's something you can do while updating the game through the DLC, just knock that out, and that would be real splendid. Aside from just fixing things though, why don't we touch up on things that aren't necessarily broken, but unfinished? Now, I'm just thinking out loud here, but I personally believe that there are two specific concepts that weren't finished in the base game that would work very well with the DLC. Hear me out here. The whole aspect of building relationships with your teachers and other students, I feel like that could be capitalized on way more, especially in part 2 of the DLC, since we're going to be a transfer student. I want to build relationships that lead into side quests that lead to conclusions to some of these newer characters' stories, and conclusions that net me really good rewards for all of my efforts. Is that too big of a request? Please be honest with me here. I feel like it's kind of a win-win here. You guys get to flesh out these characters a little more and give us more reasons to explore this world. And then, on the other side of things, we get to enjoy these characters that you've developed, and we get to explore more of this world and net rewards because we went out of our way. In a way, I guess I'm kind of just asking for side quests, but I feel like this whole relationship building with characters is the best way to do that. So, do that. I don't think I'm being that crazy with that request here. And in that same vein, since I imagine we're going to be spending a lot of time in the new school since we are a transfer student after all, I feel like we should revisit the dorm room situation. Like I said a while back, I know for a fact that that dorm room that we were first put in when we started up the game was supposed to be decoratable, but we can't do anything with it for some reason, and so, therefore, there is no reason to ever revisit that dorm room. Which really sucks, because after my long, grueling hours in Animal Crossing, I did discover that I do have a small love of decorating. I feel like it's a complete waste to not be able to decorate our dorm room however we want, with prizes and trophies and plushies of Pokemon. I'm just saying, yo, part 2 looks like it's gonna have a heavy focus on battling, so I think that we should be rewarded for our battles through items that we can use to decorate our dorm rooms. If you want us to be invested, that's probably one of the best ways to do it, but maybe that's just me. Now, I bring all of this up for 2 reasons. One, because I feel like a Pokemon Presents is on the horizon, and I don't know when, because we haven't had one since February, so I'm sure one is around the corner. Pokemon Sleep did just release recently, and Pokemon Unite just hit its 2-year anniversary, so I'm sure that they have a lot planned to talk about within the next upcoming weeks. And then of course, when it comes to the DLC, outside of the Nintendo Direct that we got at the beginning of last month, we have heard high nor hair about it. And even in said Direct, all they did was remind us that the DLC still exists, and frankly, we didn't need to be reminded of that. We're just kind of waiting. But I bring all of this up because we've all seen what DLC can do for a video game. Sword and Shield became overall better games with the inclusion of their DLC, and I feel like we could see that exact same potential with Scarlet and Violet if they're careful. We don't have a release date for anything, so I see no reason to rush this DLC out to us. The game is here, we have it, people who have it aren't going anywhere. We're just kind of patiently waiting for the DLC. Nobody's clamoring for it like that, so why don't you take the time to improve on as much as you possibly can before you drop the DLC. That's all I'm requesting here. But by all means, tell me if I'm being overzealous. But I think that's gonna go ahead and do it for this one. Just a small little something to hold you over for the beginning of the week because I don't have a lot of content planned, but I have been working on my little project here. Hopefully you guys will see that by the end of this week. I'm really looking forward to you guys seeing that one because I've been having a lot of fun with it. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Look forward to it. But I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, look at the time. Skedaddle o'clock. I'm getting out of here. But before I do, I'd like to hear what you guys are thinking in the comment section below. Do you agree that they should delay the DLC? Do you think that the DLC is just looking perfectly fine and it's on track to release in a couple of months from now? Tell me everything you guys are thinking in the comment section below because you know for a fact that I am always down there with you guys. But with that, I'm getting the hell up out of here. Thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment and consider subscribing for more content just like this. And with that, I'm gone. Thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!